Alright, this is the hangout known as A versus A, Apologia versus Atheism, Christian apologetics being applied against atheism, atheists. You can question my faith, and you can ask me the questions, or you can call me an idiot, whatever. Start now.
Don't worry, man. I don't call anyone an idiot unless they are an idiot. But I don't think whatever they believe, I guess, religious stance. I don't think they're idiots.
Alright, fair enough. Alright, so...
So don't worry, man. I won't call anybody an idiot.
I will.
Yeah, he will.
I'm just playing with you. So, can you prove that your God exists using normal everyday proof, like the proof that everybody on the rest of the planet needs when they're asking for proof? Or do you need special proof to prove your God exists?
No,
Your turn.
nope, not really. Like, I can't prove in both senses. And to me, philosophically, there's a good reason for that.
Was that just a long no?
Yeah, pretty much a long no, but I was going to try to go into an explanation if you wanted one.
Have at it, man. Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Now, there is a Bible passage that says to
Can't you
find
spell?
God. I know, I'm just saying. There's a passage that indicates finding God is spiritually discerning to spiritually search for Him. So, and it mentions the natural man can't do this because he's naturally discerning for things, such as what we do with the scientific method and all that stuff. But here's a concept that I think was very interesting, was brought to me by a Christian apologist named Inspiring Philosophy. He made a video called Why There Is No Proof for God. And in the video he mentions that imagine that there is an actual physical form for God. He lives somewhere in the Middle East. You can go to him, you can worship him, you can pray to him, you can see him, most importantly, to know that he exists, and nobody would end up going to hell for it. Would you agree, Sean?
I would also agree with it.
Um,
I guess.
no, because it would already start to chip away at my reason for such a thing.
Right. Because, yeah, I mean, the view that was later pointed out, the point that was pointed out later, after he asked the question, a lot of people would go to heaven if they would see and believe. But the question is not rather you can see or believe that he exists entirely, but rather what do you feel and why do you believe in him? So if we're doing it just for the selfish act of not wanting to go to hell, which was honestly my original position back then, that is, in my opinion, a kind of mindset that will damn you to hell. If you're only doing it out of being selfish, to not send yourself to hell instead of actually believing in God and worshiping Him because you actually uh, are concerned about the story and care for Him and love Him.
Yeah.
So there is a good reason why there is no physical form, because if he were to plead to saying we need a physical evidence for him, then scenario that I just explained will most likely happen, and that wouldn't exactly be too loving if most people are going to be sent to hell because of it.
And you don't believe that's the truth anymore?
Are you asking me that? Or
Yeah, I'm asking you that. And is that you don't believe that to be true about your current faith, or are we still talking about the scenario?
Like, when it
I'm
comes
kind
to,
of confused.
like, I was mainly I was still pointing out to the scenario that your question was why, uh, you asked if there's physical proof, if we could prove God in a sense that we can today with certain things.
Fucking suck account.
There's Sokka.
What's up, man?
I was beckoned.
Oh yeah. Hey, but just to continue with your scenario, did he also mention the? I mean, I know it kind of excluded the consequence of going to hell and everything, but that's the real reality of it, right? I mean,
The whole concept of hell would still be involved, either if the scenario were true or if we're going to what the Christians are saying about God today.
see, and that's just the whole thing. I mean, if with the consequences being so high,
Hmm.
it's like I mean, there's a difference between sending a toddler across the floor to pick up a bottle and maybe something along the way happens versus on a board between two skyscrapers. You know what I mean? The consequences of getting it wrong are too high, and you can't overlook that. And I think that is taking your reason hostage and forcing you to sacrifice your reasoning when it comes to this sort of thing. And then I think it I don't know, maybe it hopefully, I like to hope that it doesn't bleed over into other avenues where people are I don't want to say like Christians are more gullible or something, but I mean, I've always wondered if it does, because when I see someone that says that they believe,
Hmm.
and I ask them if they have any evidence or any proof for it, and of course it's kind of almost a rhetorical question, no, and and it always has to be a special kind of proof and special evidence and special this and special that. I'm like, well, what else, will you take on board under those same criteria? And I worry. I worry about you guys sometimes.
Actually, dude, I don't really like telling any like Christian or any religious person if there's actually proof of God, because the first person I asked that question, I swear to God, they looked at me and just said this, "Oh, well, you just gotta believe in them." Like, I'm not saying that's like a bad answer, but like, did I even have to ask? Like, I mean, I know it's kind of getting off question, but that's like the first time I even asked someone that, I guess.
Well, let me see here. Sokka just posted something. A study has been shown from the BBC News that religious children are less able to distinguish the fantasy from the reality.
Oh, you think?
Oh,
Yes,
God.
I agree.
Well, it just goes to what Sean was saying. I remember reading it somewhere, but it's a study that was done from Boston University that basically says that when comparing children that are raised in religious homes compared to children that aren't raised in religious homes, is that the when given a story, like a piece of fantasy, knights, dragons, witches, whatever, that children have from religious households have a harder time differentiating between which stories are fantasy and which stories are just pieces or are true. Um, but I mean, it makes sense that this would happen, because when you raise your kids in a religious home, you're already raising them essentially with the mindset that miracles can happen, that there is essentially magic in the
Oh,
world.
shit, there goes Sean.
Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe Sean will be back. He may have I don't know. Maybe it was good luck because automatically two more people started watching as soon as he left.
Damn.
I don't
Wait,
know.
hey, Sokka, so I gotta ask two questions. You're talking really fast, so I'm kind of assuming you drank a shit ton of coffee. Oh yeah, and the second question is, how are you sad that G-Man left YouTube? Now you can never have your debate with him.
No, I'm not sad that G-Man left YouTube, because he'll be back,
Yeah,
and when he
he
does,
is.
and when he does come back, apparently he's already mentioned it to somebody else that he does want to debate me on some topic. I can't remember. He listened to them.
Slavery? Is that like that was the topic? I think it was like
I think
why?
one of them was straight up like, does God exist? And then another one would be, is slavery immoral?
Yeah, that one I'm pretty sure you would kick his ass on, like, is slavery immoral. Like the thing is, like, whenever like I actually saw like your first video on that, I was like, well, shit, G man, I think you better just shit your pants. I mean, like seriously, I think you're pretty much one of the reasons he like kind of left YouTube. He's like, ah, well, shit, I can't answer this.
No, the reason why I left YouTube is his computer broke. I don't want to take any credit for
Oh,
anything like that. You know, G-Man avoids me. You know, it's probably
speechless.
best. Well, I mean, I make fun of him for being scared. You know, but in reality, what it is that um, we have similar enough personalities in the way that we approach conversations. The difference is I actually know what I'm talking about. But regardless, the personality clash is what happens there. It's you know, gas and fire. There's going to be no situation where me and him in our room together that's not going to um, end up bad. He blocks me every single time that we get into a conversation.
Huh. I'm pretty sure that like G-Man blocks pretty much everyone that just like he knows that he's probably gonna lose the conversation, so he has to just do something so he doesn't have to talk to him, which is blocking.
That's the problem I'm seeing. I don't think G-Man is fit for the apologetics part of Christianity. He seems to be more focused on evangelizing, and when it comes to debate, seems to focus on that compared to actually getting into reasonable and rational back and forth conversations. He'll instead do some kind of somewhat presuppositionalist apologetics type of argument that you automatically know God exists, that you're denying him, and then because he's made the assertion of that, instead of doing what people like Greg Bonson would do and instead try to ask the questions and try to actually question the worldview, he will go and say, you know God exists, so let me preach you something from the Bible so you can hear the words of the God that you know exists. So he'll turn it into a sermon, practically, or just mock you, which is not the appropriate way to perform any apologetics if you're trying to do that.
I think that comes from a perspective of which is really hard in some of these conversations when you can't be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, and I'm not even just talking about the, you know, you can't be wrong about, you know, the existence of God. I mean, I don't think that you know, that having certainty, having a strong, you know, faith in God that's fine, whatever. You know, I'm not here to deconvert anybody or do anything like that. What it comes down to though is when you take this position where that you make poor arguments, and because those poor arguments you get if you get called out on them, instead of actually sitting back and being like, okay, wait a second, I done darn fucked up. Sorry, pardon my language. You just double down on stupid. You know, you hear that a lot. You know, you make a stupid comment, you just double down on it instead of saying, okay, maybe I should just reform my position. I've had conversations with Matt Bell before that I've gone into completely unprepared, where I did get trounced. You know, there's you know, we were arguing past each other, or I was missing the point of what he was saying. And I look back at it afterwards because I actually do review, you know, conversations that I'm in if they were good enough, and I look back and I'll be like, oh man, okay, I completely missed the mark on this one here, and I admit it. I admit it afterwards. You know, I should have focused on this more. I was focusing too much on this. You know, okay, yeah, I was you know, committing a logical fallacy here. Yeah, I mean, it's you have to be honest with yourself. I mean, if you're here to actually have the conversations and actually to learn, then you know, then that's what you should be doing. But some people do approach this from a position of that they're here to teach, that they can't be wrong about anything. And there's a few apologists like that. There's a few atheists like that too. So yeah, it's the mindset. I think that people got to get over their pride.
Yeah, like whenever like all the videos I actually made right now, like every time I upload them, I'm just like, I look over, I'm just like, holy shit, did I fuck up anything? Did I, you know, overlook anything? Did I fuck up anything? My last video about Zenai versus Snorlax, and that's actually Bloodstained Lane. If you don't know who he is, he's just a big piece of shit. I swear, I swear, anybody that's actually friends with him, I don't know. They're probably the bravest humans in the world right now, because he's like the biggest douche.
All right, so.
But, yeah, sorry.
All right, so Sean left, but he did ask his question thing, so he's good on the turntable. Sokka, do you have any anything you want to poke at me for, or my faith on, or do you have any questions to
Well, I
provide
mean,
the Apologia?
about the what?
For me to provide the Apologia, the basically the Greek for giving the defense, the answer for
Oh,
my faith.
yeah, sorry. New word. Thank you. Okay. Well, I mean, I know that you kind of want to jump in the conversation the other day that we were having on the other show that I host there, but I can ask you that as well. Is that is it possible? I know you don't consider yourself moderate, but do you think that it's hard for moderates or progressive Christians or liberal Christians, whatever you want to call it, let's call them the progressive or the liberal Christians, to remain consistent with their religion while maintaining that position of progressive or liberal Christianity?
They can definitely be consistent as long as they stick with the essentials. This I would say for anyone who's Republican, American, Korean, Mexican, white, black, purple, whatever you are, as long as you're consistent with what the scripture teaches on the essentials being, do you believe in the Savior Jesus Christ? Do you believe he rose on the third day? Do you believe he died for our sins? All that stuff, all this thing like the uh, age of the earth, the Calvinism and Molinism, all these different concepts. Sometimes even there's Christians that say Earth is flat, circular, and then there's Christians that say no, it's spherical. Yeah, well, Jeranism is an atheist, so he don't count.
Oh.
But how can you remain consistent to just bits and pieces? Isn't it just kind of shaping your own theology around whatever your preferences are to begin with?
Well, here's the thing. If your views on this don't change your views on the essentials and that they're still able to match up, what it is basically, let's say this. It's a theory that you're proposing that it could be true, but that you're still open and skeptical, but you're just at the point convinced at the moment.
Well, it sounded real quick, just add on to that. It sounded like you're mixing up salvation with the theory of your theology of Christianity. Mm-hmm. And I think the thing is, can you be a moderate Christian and hang on to it? Not that can you be a moderate and have salvation?
All right, so repeat the question a little more simply, I guess.
But I was just clear. It's the same question that Sock is asking. Hey, can you be a moderate Christian and still beholden to your theology?
Right. Be consistent. Yes.
Yeah. What is the consistent part? What is the concrete foundation that you're being consistent to? Just like the Nicene Creed?
Basically, the essentials. People are going to disagree on things that are considered non-essentials, which are basically things we can disagree on. But the essentials will have the word salvation written on it. If it deals with the concept of salvation, then that's the essentials. But if it doesn't, then it's not a problem.
Does salvation alone just make you a Christian then? Because if that's the case, then I'm a Christian still, I guess.
Like, here's the concept of Christian. If you believe and follow the teachings of Christ, like, have you been saved by him and that you actually take the opportunity to follow him and believe in his words and all that?
I mean, are we talking about just his words in particular, or are we talking about the words of the entire Bible, as the stuff that's transcribed by Paul or whoever?
Like the entire Bible, not like the kind of a Christian deism thing that Thomas Jefferson did with the Jefferson Bible, where he just tore out everything he didn't like and just kept the teachings of Jesus. But you have to also take in the other parts of it, because you have to consider that, because in one part that I think is very essential and is very plain in the text, is that the reason why the sacrifice and Jesus being important himself was because he was part of the Trinity. And that's basically saying that God is the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. God is in the Godhead's in three distinct characters.
Okay. Can I ask you one other question?
Sure.
Can you be wrong?
Absolutely. I hold it to a very high degree of humility, and I think that's the same thing that scientists, and I do see some that say, we could be wrong. It's just that we're just going to say that this is true now, but if another theory comes up and disproves us in the future, then we'll happily accept it. But right now, this is just all we got. Same thing what we have when it comes to the theology that scholars come up with based on their writings. I mean, this is how we found there are some errors in the King James when we started finding more biblical manuscripts, and that's when the controversy comes up saying, NIV removes this verse. Turns out, earlier the manuscripts, some of the verses don't actually exist in them, so it's possible that those verses are just added and was written by other people later on. So we are
Can I add a question onto it?
Okay, sure.
To go along with it, just from the analogy used. I put it on the side there too. Like, well, what if an idea comes along that explains everything better? Like it doesn't actually prove you wrong, but just explains more than what your theology explains.
So either another philosophy or religion, I guess, if you would say, or just some kind of scientific explanation.
Well, no, because like I hold my position pretty much is agnosticism, but it doesn't actually prove your case wrong. It doesn't actually prove Christianity or the God wrong, but in my view, it explains, at least from this position, not that position explained it, but from this position, I have way more explanatory power of things. So if something like that comes along that doesn't necessarily prove you wrong, it doesn't have to be my point of view, but if something were to come along hypothetically that didn't prove you wrong but explained everything better, would that be an option for you?
It could be, but I'd have to examine it, as I usually do. As a philosopher, I think like this. Everything has a set, everything if not most, well, most if not everything, actually, got that backwards, has a sense of faith to a degree. Some, like Christianity or religion, has that big concept. Some has that small sense of faith. But it's faith.
You don't mean the blind faith. Like, I think I know what you...
No,
yeah,
not entirely.
Yeah, you're
blind
sensible.
faith.
Sure. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, for example, you can say, like, as John Lennox once said to Richard Dawkins, do you have faith in your wife? You can. It's not in the sense that, you don't see your wife, so how do you know she exists? It's in the sense that can you trust her?
Right.
Can you trust that your wife is going to stay honest and loyal to you? Can you trust that, she's not wasting your money? Can you trust that she's not seeing another man? And
Like
can you trust her?
Strong, like something a little more than just trust. It's like a strong trust or evidence-based trust.
Right.
Like, yeah.
But,
Right.
but
There's, I'm sorry, I was kind of talking to my wife there while I was listening to that. Are you comparing trust in God to trust in your wife?
no, I was explaining this as the other sense. I mentioned that there's two different types of the faith analogies. There's the big kind, which definitely goes into religion, and then things with the wife is what I consider the small sense of faith, which doesn't necessarily go with you can't see your wife, so you have to have faith in her. It's not that. You have
No,
faith.
I mean it's an equivocation of the term faith. I mean, the thing is that why do I have faith that the brakes in my car are going to work? I can test them. I can get behind the wheel. I can pump them a couple times. Okay, they seem to be working. They're not making any sounds. There's a lot of things in reality that I can take a look at and have a very strong level of confidence that they're not going to fail there. But I mean that faith is based off of demonstrable things that have happened before.
But then I'd ask the question that you asked me earlier. Could you be wrong if you decide that straight after testing the brakes that you might not have a problem with them if you were to say get into an accident that you had to take a brake on?
No, that's why it's trust. That's why it's just a strong trust.
I mean,
Right.
And that's where the equivocation comes in. Is that of course I can be wrong. You can be wrong about your big faith. I can be wrong about my little faith. But the point is that my little faith is actually I would say actually really the big faith, because it's the one that I hold because of those strong degrees of confidence are what I hold, because they're testable, they're demonstratable, they're they're incredibly reliable. If I was to get behind the wheel of an old car that I've never driven before, pulling up to the first red light, I mean, everyone trying to hit the brakes on that, the degree of faith I have there would be substantially less. I have nothing to base it on that works, other than maybe induction in other cars, that it's that hitting that pedals work before to stop vehicles. Even that, I'd say, would actually be the different type of faith. The thing is that when we talk about faith in something that we can't see, can't demonstrate, I mean, it might not even be there for all we know. That is a completely different type of faith than faith in whether or not my car is going to stop when I pump the brakes. It's so different that it's not even the same word anymore. And
Which is why I tried to make the distinction earlier between the big concept and then the little concept. They have different characteristics on it. Big definitely goes involving to things such as religion. The little aspect of faith goes towards tiny things like the wife and the car and all that stuff. It's not
It might
really,
just be a semantic issue. The distinction I make is just I call one religious faith and one just faith. Like,
right.
I just call one blind faith. One of them is completely
Right,
blind.
right.
You're not basing it off of anything at all.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Like, I think I do have faith in some things I do, but I wouldn't necessarily call my position blind faith entirely.
But
Yeah.
I mean, it would have to be blind faith. Well, I mean, what possible things are you basing it on to get to any degree of confidence whatsoever? I mean, like I said, whether it's whether my office chair is going to be reliable the next time that I sat in it, or the next me pumping my brakes in the car, if that's going to be reliable, or whether my computer is going to turn on tomorrow. These are all things that, sure, if you really want to say those are faith, that's fine. But you can't compare any of that to a belief in something that you cannot demonstrate, that and then you can be there's no evidence at all.
I mean, it's kind of like saying, I guess I would pull out like the Amazing Atheist and say like, well, there's probably elves in my shoes. You can see my shoes, but you can't see the elves. And no, you can't see them, or I can't take off my shoes, so you can see my. It's like that, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Here's an easy way to picture it.
It's
I have a car in my garage, right? I have faith right this second. I have a strong trust and confidence that there is a car in my garage.
Yeah.
If you're using the other side of faith, though, is right now I have faith that there's actually a Ferrari out in my driveway too. Like I have no reason to think that that's the case. I don't know what I would even base that on other than I have a car.
Well, I think that's what it comes down to, is what do you base it on? See, like, when I say that I have faith that my brakes are going to work, I have faith compared to what? All the times that I've hit my brakes and they've worked. I can compare it to that. My degree of certainty is based off of all the times that it's worked before in the past. That I have something that's demonstrable, something concrete that I can compare, that I can contrast my faith with. My degree of certainty is based off of something.
Well,
But but with faith, like the blind faith or religious faith, what do you want to talk about it? There is no level of certainty, because there is no scale to that. It really comes down to that in my opinion, that just I really want this to be true, and that's where it stops. You have no comparison to anything else that you can demonstrate, so it just comes down to a personal feeling that you want it to be true.
Well, the personal feeling is definitely on a spiritual level to me. That's for sure. But when it comes to the reasons why I don't consider it entirely blind faith, there are some aspects I do consider on blind faith. But then there's the parts that I take when comparing my experiences and observations in the real world compared to what's obtained in the Bible. For example, two of the instances is me examining the concept of Big Bang cosmology, and then there's the concept of us being able to reason and logic without just being told the things ahead of time. Some people would even consider some of the aspects of it being common sense, not the religion part. I'm just talking about, like, certain things like, that's just plain common sense. But when it comes to the idea of being able to reason and ration, there's the concept where in Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, it says we're made in the image of God. And since, as far as I can remember, the image of God, or as the Latin is known, the Imagio Dei, has always been referred to as the ability to reason and ration in the same sense that God is able to, so that we are born naturally with this ability to make decisions and to make rational choices just out of pure instinct. Now, we'll kind of come to different conclusions. We're still able to make the choices and come to conclusions based on the concept of free will. Now, the second thing on the Big Bang cosmology, there's several parts of the Bible where it points out there's a beginning, that the heavens, which can refer to the sky, but they can also refer to the stars in the universe. It refers to the heavens stretching and expanding, which the Big Bang practically states that's what's happening, that the stars are continuously expanding throughout the universe. There's, I think, an entire chapter of the Bible that mentions that God
This is
doesn't
really,
change.
this is like really stretching. I don't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry, but it's really stretching the text. It seems to be anyway to come up with these things.
Which is why I guess that also goes into the Genesis 1:27 thing. We're able to try to find these correlations in with reality and then find these being in the passage of the Bible. Back then, the most accepted view was the idea that the universe has always existed. It's never had a beginning. And this was even mainly also as an atheist concept as well. And there's also a minority of atheists and even theists that still believe that the universe has always existed and that the idea of a universe beginning is scientifically impossible.
Yeah, I think it's bad to claim either way. I think it'd be even almost bad science to just claim that it's. I think you can maybe come up with ways that it could work either way, right? That it could be infinite or have an ending, or be eternal and have an ending. But,
Well, I think that
but to hold that as view would almost be stretching it too, even on the science side.
well, I think that one of the interesting is the model that's kind of put forward by what's his name? I think Alexander Vilenkin now, as well as the majority of physicists and whatever. They don't say that the universe had a beginning. What they say is that the expansion of the universe had a beginning. And that's about the strongest level of confidence that scientists have on the matter, is that the expansion of the universe had a beginning at one point in time. The universe itself, there's really no claim. There's no way that we can substantiate a claim that it had a beginning, and there's really no way to substantiate that it's eternal. Any claim at that point in time made in either way is purely theoretical. So if you're comparing like an argument saying that the universe had a beginning or whatever, I don't think that is a very sound premise to start with nowadays. Like I said, with the majority of scientists only agreeing that the only thing we know truly had a beginning was the expansion of the universe.
And to me, I mean, I don't think that the Bible's, at least some parts of it, don't teach a scientific understanding like that. I don't think the Bible teaches science, but I do believe that we can look at science and then the Bible and then, still trust on both and come to the reasonable conclusions that they don't contradict each other.
Well, yeah. So yeah, I mean, what is a lot of the science? It's what we observe.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to think even then, a lot of what would have gone into the book is what the people would have observed. Like that's why, like with evolution, that how people have some weird contention that evolution does say kinds come after their kinds. Well, that's what the Bible would agree with, that because that's what the people at the time would have observed as well, right?
Like I'm not going to get too much into that because I did make something where I'm going to try to definitely drop out of this, but since it's brought up in a hangout, I'm going to address it briefly.
Yeah, I don't want to take it to evolution. I was just meaning the Bible, like on this. You can stand on what you're talking about.
No, I mean, I'm not talking just on the evolution thing. It's just about reading the concept of the chapters of Genesis itself. For some people, for some odd reason, have come to the conclusion that young Earth creationism was a well-known concept throughout the beginning of the Bible, when certain Jews that I've discussed have said different. Church fathers that were starting the Christianity concept, the Christian churches, and some were even, uh, disciples of some of the 12 apostles that followed Jesus Christ, had come to the conclusion that the passage that says 1,000 years is like a day to the Lord and a day is like 1,000 years, they believe that each day was 1,000 years because it's about what's time according to God, in the sense. Like St. Augustine believed that the earth and the universe and everything was literally made in 1 second. He believed that it was all the passages of Genesis was laying out. Okay, so you have the land, and this is why it exists. You have the animals, this is why they exist, this is their purpose. He believed that they were all read to explain the purpose of why these things existed. And
Right, and that's what the rabbis believe too.
right. And then, some people will do that, but then you have old Earth creationists which believe that, they sort of believe the same thing with the day concept, what is time to God? But instead of 1,000 years, they believe they're just long periods of time, because that is, just period of time is one of the definitions for the Hebrew word yom, which can mean day, year, month, decade, century, period of time, and has a very wide language vocabulary definition range, and they just happen to take the position that it means that period of time. And then there's people like me, which is a rare minority called evolutionary creationists, which believe, and even them they're divided up. Some believe that the Bible doesn't teach science and that it doesn't explain our origins, it's just telling poetry. I'm more in the range that I think it's poetry, but I think that we still need to look at the Bible, because I think it does tell us something. Because one of the problems I also have is Genesis 1 says that man came last out of the creation order in the days. But in Genesis 2, it says all those things were made in one day, and that man came first, then the garden, and then everything else. So the first 2 chapters also have that kind of thing that make me a little sketchy. But at the same time, I don't think that this compromises biblical inerrancy. And if you go to any of the theological seminaries and elsewhere, they will definitely agree. I think it was even at the Calvin seminary, what's his name? I think it was Cornelius Van Til or something like that. He was Cornelius J. Van Til who proposed that kind of thing at his seminary. But it's open, and it's one of those things I mentioned earlier. It's not an essential issue. You can believe those, but as long as your view does not compromise with the essentials. Like me, I still believe in a historical Adam and Eve, that the original sin took place, and then I still also believe that Jesus died on the cross for our sins, and we need a Savior, and that's why I think it's important for me to preach the gospel to save people.
Amen.
So sorry if that took too long of an answer.
Oh, it's okay, man.
I forgot what the question was.
God dang, that was a long time. Christian anarchists.
Well, hey, I'm preaching. Get on to me.
Just messing with you,
Christian
man.
anarchist. It looks like you're going to have Nadia jumping in here soon. I passed the link on to her, so.
Really?
Yep.
Crap, that took a long time.
There we go. Okay, so anybody Xbox or Wolf want to start poking at me?
I'm sorry. I actually have to
I'm going to
jump
ask
out,
the.
so, you'll have a good night. But thanks, Christian Anarchist. Thanks for grabbing me the link.
My Xbox.
I'm going to ask.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too, man. I'll add you to a circle too, Farley.
I'm going to ask Lyrical Orion's question here from the comment section.
Oh, go ahead.
How do you get from your ontological concept of God to the Christian God? For example, why is the Christian God concept better than any other God concept, like Wicca or Hinduism or Jedi?
So I don't understand the term ontological. What does ontology mean? That's like the state of being for God. If I'm trying to remember the term when I was in a philosophy argument, right? That's
Yeah.
like, okay, but
Yeah, it essentially gets you. Okay, yeah. We can come to the conclusion that you have an argument that a state of being of a good, there's a God exists or whatever. Yeah, I'm really bad with that. The definitions for this shit too. So
yeah. So she's asking why is the concept of a Christian God better than these other gods proposed in other religions such as Hinduism, Islam, Buddhism, and all these other religions?
I guess like maybe when terrible if I'm asking this the wrong way for her, but um, like you came to the conclusion. Did you come to the conclusion first that there was a God and then went to Christianity, or did you just immediately jump to hey, the Christian God must be the God?
I came to the I was raised a Christian, or so supposedly, when I was growing up. So I was one of those that unfortunately was, just brought up into it and was told about it, and I just accepted it as a child. Um, but I
Have you
then later,
have you done any reviews of any other religions?
oh yes, I did. I did that. At some point, I was close to accepting. It was either going with Islam or it was possibly going over Jainism.
Jainism, really?
Yeah, just like only because I'd heard it was a pacifist religion, and I was really looking towards the idea of pacifism. But I was still focused on Christianity, even though I was looking over at these other religions at the time. But no matter where I looked, Christianity seemed to have always made sense in the end. Not because it was a conditional thing, because I even came across from the agnostic, atheistic perspective. It's just that every time I looked at certain things, Christianity just always seems to make sense.
Okay, so in your opinion, out of all the religions you've looked at, you just find Christianity the most coherent.
Hmm. Yeah. And I also find it to be the most, they say Islam's the religion of peace, but I think Christianity shows a more stronger side of peace.
Islam?
Yeah, they
Yeah,
always.
but what does that really matter? I mean, like that just comes down to a preference at that point in time. It's just like, okay,
Right.
well,
I'm just saying, if you wanted like a peaceful kind of outcome from it, I was definitely
yeah.
not.
I mean, if we're gonna go by the scale that the most peaceful religion should be the best religion, then I mean, damn, you should have gone with Jainism.
I would say Buddhism is like the most peaceful religion.
Oh no, man, Jainism.
Like I didn't.
Jainism's got that.
Oh yeah, Jainism.
It's a swastika, but they got it. Yeah.
Yeah, like Jainism. From what I heard, Sam Harris said, the more of an extremist you are as a Jainist, the less we have to worry about you.
But I don't think Islam is actually a peaceful religion. I don't think it is.
I'm sure they could look at Christianity and probably. I think I like the analogy that Islam is just where Christianity was, 200-300 years ago before they were brought up to current times. But I have a question for you, Christian Anarchist.
Shoot away.
Do you care if what you believe is true?
Well, I do in a sense because I believe. Yeah, I mean, if I care for what I believe in because it's affected how I've viewed life. It's affected how I apply my own personal philosophy and apply my own teachings in my own life. The sense of pacifism and forgiveness came from Christianity, which was a concept I've heard of, but to hear that good people that I considered good, actually forgave people, to me, good people didn't forgive people back then. But then when I heard of the concept of Jesus, I just thought back then, he was just some guy that was good, and he was killed, and so somebody needs to avenge him. So I was against Jews, I was against blacks, and at one point, after seeing 9/11 happen, I had decided to make a vow to make some way to go and kill a bunch of Muslims and bomb them.
Oh
So
boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Let's. Oh,
Yeah, man, that's.
yeah,
That's some messed up shit right there, man.
Yeah,
exactly.
man. No, like I kind of like, holy shit.
Yeah, so this is why I thank uh, God for like that time when I was 18 and found him, because then I actually started reading the Bible, which, you know, where I'm from, they don't really promote that much.
that
And
much.
yeah, I mean, they like, it's just listen to what the pastor says. And I think one of the churches I went to, they didn't even have Bibles in the back of the pews. Like, you just had to listen to him and trust what he was reading was actually from the Bible. But it's pretty much like I would say for anything else. Just look at it for yourself and read it. And when I did that, I came to the conclusions of pacifism. I came to the conclusions of forgiving people. I came to the idea of even if you were angry at this stupid jerk football player guy that was trying to make your life a miserable nightmare at school, you just love him and forgive him, and then, you know, just try to treat him friendly. And I did all these things. I got some of my friends that I made enemies with, that they became my friends again.
Well,
I don't. Sorry, John. I don't understand this idea that forgiveness is a unique concept to religion, specifically Christianity. Why do people think that? I mean, do you think that outside of Christianity that it's impossible to forgive?
No, I don't think it's impossible to forgive outside Christianity, but I think
Oh, okay.
Christianity promotes it a lot more than what the other religions or
Well,
atheism does.
Well, wait, hold on a second. I mean, atheism doesn't have a philosophy.
I
Okay, I
know.
think, yeah. I mean, this is one of those things that's just like, when you make a statement that's like, oh, that there's no room for forgiveness in atheism, or there's no incentive for forgiveness in atheism. That's just ludicrous, because atheism doesn't deal with any of those philosophies. There, atheism is it's a position on a single issue. It's a response to a claim. That.
Like, I didn't say that there was any
Yeah,
philosophies, and
right.
I didn't say anything about. I
But I
just think,
have, I mean, I have my own personal philosophy, and my personal philosophy seems to fall in line with many other people, including believers and non-believers alike, that forgiveness is something that is a good thing, just because nobody wants to carry the weight of being pissed off all the time on your shoulders.
right.
That's a very simple explanation there. I mean, forgiveness isn't exclusive to religion, and just because you don't have a religion doesn't mean you can't forgive. So, I mean, good on you for being able to forgive, and if you get that through your faith, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that minus a religion, forgiveness is impossible.
To be honest, I think forgiveness forgiveness is actually more better than hatred, because I heard that hatred can actually eat you in the inside.
Yeah.
It's path to the dark side.
Path to the
Okay,
dark side, my son.
So just so y'all know, apparently atheists are watching in a sense, because 5 people dislike this, and it's probably because of the responses I'm giving out.
Fuck
wait
you.
a second. Wait a second. Why did you blame us?
I didn't. You think I'm gonna put y'all in a group where I'm saying use the association fallacy here? I'm just saying
Like-
this. I'm just
You
saying
better
there's people like
you
there's
better
people
like
like Mark Unoya and Annabelle that just don't like me at all, just because I'm a theistic. Like, there was a thing with a picture of Nessie or something like that Annabelle posted, and I was kind of making a joke, saying, hey, cool, this how did you find Nessie? And Mark and Annabelle were just making fun. Like, well, he's a Christian, so no wonder he's this dumb. So that kind of thing. I'm like, I was just kind of making a joke. I can tell, because then I actually saw because I did see the actual picture that she did use before she photoshopped and put the Nessie thing in there. I was just making a joke, because I also was complimenting how perfectly well that because the picture of the Nessie also had waves, and she managed to put that in perfectly to synchronize with the ocean that it was in. But yeah,
Do you if it was discovered and proved to your satisfaction that there was no God and that religion was kind of a hoax, do you think your life would change a whole bunch? I mean, is it restricting you from doing anything that I mean, is it would your life change?
Um, I'd say a little bit, just a little bit. I wouldn't say a huge bunch like it did with me back then, converting from uh, an awkward Christianity to what I believed was genuine Christianity. I think that I'd still, of course, keep my idea of forgiveness. I'd still keep the idea of pacifism. It's just that my concept towards the idea of God would be different. Even then, approaching, for example, if let's say the scenario happened, and I changed my ways and I became an atheist, I would still not say anything too insulting of theists, because as a philosopher, I think there's reasons why some people hold to the beliefs, and there's good reasons why they do so. And I think if they're not hurting society, then I think that these views need to, be allowed anyways. I mean, if it's not true and they're not hurting people, like I don't see much with Christianity compared to Islam, where one person's just trying to say, convert to us, the other one saying convert to us or we chop your bloody head off. So yeah, I'd say I'd change a little, but it wouldn't be drastic as it was the first time.
How do you separate fact from reality? Or, sorry, reality from fiction? Ugh.
Reality from fiction.
Or fact from fiction. That's a better way of putting it. How do you separate fact from fiction?
Fact from fiction.
For example, how do you know that Scientology is wrong?
Well, once again, that's one of the things where I go on the concept of faith, and I have faith that Scientology is wrong. Like, I don't have enough faith for that concept based on the observations I've made. Also because I haven't really listened or heard anything about Scientology. They're about to lose the Pope of Scientology, known as Tom Cruise, so...
Oh, Ron Hubbard.
Or Ron Howard, that guy.
Already
He's
All
been dead
hail
for a while.
Tom Cruise.
Okay. Let me try to put it a different way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the point is when someone puts up a picture of like the Loch Ness monster there, oh man, such a weird one. You could take a look at the Loch Ness monster, and you can come to this conclusion. It's like that's ridiculous. That's fake. That's a hoax. Whatever. What standard do you put on that? And do you use that same standard when evaluating your own beliefs?
Well, like I said, okay, I'm gonna try to give me a second on this one.
I mean, this is a concept where, like, okay, you hear this all the time, where it's just like that someone says, okay, I believe in God. Someone else says, I believe in Bigfoot, or whatever. In the same example, God, Bigfoot, whatever you want to use, and someone comes along and says, I don't believe in that, and this is like, well, can you prove that Bigfoot doesn't exist, or something along that line? The question is kind of malformed, because I mean, how do you prove that something doesn't exist? Can you? I don't think you can't prove that Bigfoot doesn't exist, but you can be warranted in your belief that Bigfoot doesn't exist. So, for example, there are certain I don't believe in Bigfoot, or I don't believe in the Loch Ness monster, because for these things to have existed, that you'd see some evidence that would that would give evidence to the fact that they existed, whether it was Bigfoot droppings, or a corpse that was hit by a train, or something, or eventually like a huge sea monster washes up on the shore somewhere. Where you'd expect to find evidence for these creatures you don't find it, which makes the disbelief in those concepts warranted. So when you come to things like the God concept, where you expect to find evidence for God, you don't find it there either. But yet you don't maintain the same standard when it comes to the belief in that concept.
I think that if we're searching for things to, for example, if we're trying to search for the existence of God, or the truth of God, or something like that, then those are things that are needing to be spiritually discerned. As I mentioned earlier in a part of the Bible, there's a thing where it says the natural man cannot spiritually discern the things of God, which is the verse that I always go to when I am against the idea of Romans 1 teaching that everybody knows God exists, or one of the arguments of presuppositionalism. There are certain people that I believe that are known as the natural men, and by men I mean just human beings in general, that can't know the things of God because they're not looking hard enough. They're too focused on the material way of looking at it, but they're not focusing on the spiritual way of looking at it. And I think that's one of the things that Christianity tries to promote, as well as even some of the religions. They try to promote a spiritual discernment for things instead of just the natural materialistic discerning.
Okay, so when you're evaluating things using your natural senses, you have ways to confirm whether your senses are working or not. I mean, that there's certain things that you can do, that you can have a certain amount of faith. This goes back to the faith thing, where you have faith in the reliability of those senses. How do you discern the faith of the reliability of your spiritual senses? How do you compare them? How do you know that they're working, or that they actually exist?
And that's one of the things why I guess it's called faith. We don't really know. We're just having the trust that it works. We just have faith, and we just trust that it's going to work out well.
So you have faith in a kind of a spiritual sense of observing things that you don't know whether or not that sense actually exists or not. I mean, I have faith in things that I see because I have a very good reason to believe that my eyes are working. I'm processing visual images as far as I know here. I'm trying to find the correlation between the way that we see things or experience things in the natural world, and how we'd experience things in the spiritual world.
Well, okay, let me try to. I don't know if this might sound like I'm trying to avoid or play.
Just go full woo on me. That'll be fine.
Well, I mean, for example, let's just say that I'm one of those solipsist people that believe. I kind of remember Thunderfoot brought this up, that what if you don't actually exist? You think you do, but what if you're maybe part of some kind of matrix thing, and that this reality is not the real reality? For example, I can look at my phone, I can observe that it's gray, and there's also a bit of white on the exterior. There's two different exteriors to it. I can observe what's on it, and this is, of course, the natural discernment that I mentioned earlier. Now, the spiritual discernment comes into the philosophy or religion section. Could the solipsist model be correct? Could the religious model be correct? Could just a regular, traditional, naturalistic, or atheistic model be correct, that the reality does exist, but there's nothing beyond that? When we die, we go to the grave, or whatever other concepts there is. So I can just observe things and then make whatever assumptions out of it. But when it comes to other things, such as the concept of solipsism, or things that seem, very deep in philosophy, or sometimes even considered wacky, cuckoo, kajoo, nut job, kazoo, those are where we get into the things of the spiritual discernments.
Okay, thanks.
Alright. Anyone got any comments or questions?
I was just about to write in the side comments when you're using your phone analogy. Could you say like
I didn't really know.
the pictures on your phone is like the spiritual side of it, maybe? Or no, I'm not trying to make fun of your pictures. I'm just trying to say like it's something that only you know about, I guess. Like it doesn't change
Like,
anything physical about the phone, but yet it's specific to just that phone, or like a personal belief, or like I know it's not a method of discernment or anything, but it's a different property that I don't know, man. This
so
stuff.
what like the phone on the exterior, of course, is going to be same or whatever, but what's on in the phone case, like on the screen itself, is a personal kind of thing, such as the religion. Some people have different things going on their screens, um, but it's still personal, and sometimes someone can even be looking at the same screen.
You've just got one more contact than me to Jesus.
Hmm.
I'm just playing with you. I'm try.
I knew it wasn't that easy.
I try to. I'm really trying to understand kind of what you're saying, and I understand where Sokka's going when he's asking you that, because I mean it's like something breaks down at a certain point. Not saying you're broke down or anything, like I'm just saying something like everything's normal, and then there's a break, and then it just kind of goes normal again. But that's all after this break, and the stuff that's after that break isn't normal, and I don't know. I'll let someone else ask questions because I'm trying to think of a really good one here.
Yeah, what about Wolf? You haven't spoken.
I don't want to be roasty.
I don't really have a question.
Yeah, I was cooking shit, so couldn't be bothered out. Yeah, so what are we talking about now?
This is basically the chance for atheists to question Christianity or just poke fun at me just for being a Christian. So grab your 30-foot sphere or spear and then just start jabbing at me.
Okay. Sure.
I'm trying to sharpen mine, but it's not getting sharpened. I don't know why.
Well, just try using the
okay,
sandpaper.
so I guess so the Christian, and I mean, so okay, so what would be the relevance of applying like a Christian aspect to your worldview, I guess?
Well, the Christian perspective of it definitely shows what I mentioned earlier, the sense of a sense of forgiveness, the concept of loving my enemies as I would myself, even if basically love my enemies as I would my friends, as I would love myself as well, treat them as I would want to be treated. And then there's the concept of treating people kindly. All this kind of stuff didn't occur to me until I actually decided to look into the Bible and actually read into it. And after reading a passage where it said, the genuine, honest transformation, if you'll know you're transformed in Christ when you can sense a good change in yourself, a transformation. Do not be conformed to the ways of the world, but rather be transformed by the renewing of your own mind. So I did that. I gave it a shot out of my own free will, and after seeing a big change in my life, I was a little bit more convinced that this was true based on that scripture alone and applying the other things that I did.
Okay, so you're owing your the Christian aspect to this personal experience you had of reading the Bible and understanding some of its precepts about treating other people and stuff like this. But wouldn't you grant that these these concepts of empathy and the golden rule and stuff like that, isn't it possible to define that on like some other possible secular basis? If that's the case, what would be special about adopting like the Christian perspective anyway?
There wouldn't be anything special about it. What we argue is that the origins of those ideas come from somewhere higher. Go ahead,
Right.
see it.
I mean, and like I mentioned earlier, yeah, you can get the secular ideas of the um, concept of forgiveness and all that stuff. What I mentioned earlier is that I don't think that it gets promoted as much from a secular perspective. Now, I'll give it more respect if atheists and secularists try to promote so, but some I've met say, they aren't Christians because they also have or they don't like Christianity because they have a big problem with this concept of forgiving other people. They're like, oh yeah, I should, forgive this man who raped and killed my whole family. I should just, forgive him. It's like that'll do any good. But even then, atheists and Christians alike have forgiven people in these instances. So there is no try to put this association fallacy on that kind of stuff. People of both sides, whether they be atheist or theist, are bound to forgive and not forgive, to preserve life and then to take life. There's even atheist organizations, and even Christopher Hitchens himself disagrees with the idea of abortion, still considering it murder. But there's still atheists as well who consider it, it's not murder. I mean, not until it reaches a certain stage.
Fair enough. I guess the word special wouldn't necessarily been the word so much as unique in that regard. And yeah, sure, that there are atheists that say other things and stuff like that. We're all essentially our guests. My point is that the thing that you were talking about, like forgiveness or treating others the way you want to be treated, like golden rule and stuff like that. For example, that idea is kind of more or less universal in every single worldview, including the one I apply in terms of humanism. That's that at the root of it is just essential to like positive social interactions between individuals of similar situated environments or whatever. But yeah, that would be my point, is that these are essentially just human experiences, and we tend to apply, or at least some that strive to focus on propositions that work, just tend to apply them for the best that they for the best way to understand like the world and stuff like that, be it knowledge or ethics or whatever. And my point is, if there is a way that can actually be applied, it would be almost irrelevant to focus on anything that actually had that. Like
Wolf, let me ask you this: can science explain the emotion empathy?
Yes.
Yeah, it can.
Yeah, I can, man.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
you ever heard of oxytocin?
Yeah, it's a chemical in the brain. What about it?
It it is a chemical in the brain. And with regard to mammals, it's basically that thing that allows us to understand like the measure of like love, or that feeling in the brain that one has towards another person. I remember seeing this show, right? This show on the Science Channel, I believe, or Discovery, or whatever. It involved this scientist running this experiment, right? Excuse me. Anyway, so they went up in a plane, right? They went up in a plane. He went up in a plane with a professional skydiver, and he was gonna do this without a parachute. He was gonna do it inside out without a parachute, and he was gonna put all his trust in the skydiver, who's the expert, and he was gonna measure his brain with this device. I forgot what it was. You can look up later. But he was basically holding on to him, so to speak, and basically putting all his trust in him. And essentially, the result was, he had as much trust in him as like a couple on their wedding day, basically on that level. But the point is, we can understand these experiences because they're essentially human. All right. I mean, and we operate as a social species. If we could take the simple regularities and understand them with laws of predictive power that produce the most utility, then we got something to work with. That's my point. You know. So yeah, we could get this stuff basically.
Cool. All right. Can you fill a bucket with the emotion of empathy or love?
Nah, that is the ear wrong.
Mm,
Do you see what I'm getting at there, though?
Maybe when I was young.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe when I was
Yeah, because that, like I said, that hits the ear wrong. You know, you can't. I mean, you
Yeah,
know,
I mean-
empathy, and love and stuff. It's not bucking. You know, all of that goes up in the brain, basically.
Right. Exactly. It's emotion. It's
Yeah, I mean-
emotion. It's intangible. That's what I'm talking about.
no, I mean it's not really. It's kind of a malformed question. I mean, like Rev, can you fill a bucket full of running?
Right. Exactly. Yes, Sokka. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
That's
I
what-
mean it's when we're talking about like these things, these are physiological.
Esoteric?
These are physiological responses to the physical beings that we are.
True, but you can't fill a bucket full of emotion. That's my point. It's intangible. It's something we experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't see the point. We also can't fill a bucket full of red.
Qualia. It's called qualia, and it exists, and there's implications for that, I think.
Okay, what do you mean by qualia?
You.
Are
Why
we
did you? Why the hell did you ask that?
I don't know. Are we getting into substance dualism or stuff or?
I'm just putting stuff out there, guys. I apologize.
Okay. All right. So I'm back.
I was more or less like surprised at Saga for a second.
All right. So thanks for taking over as the apologist for a bit there, Rev. You never know when you're gonna be called upon to substitute as such for some occasion.
Did my best.
Yeah. Hey, Rev, I got a sick day. Can you take over and start doing apologetics for me, brother?
You do a fine job, CA. Fine job.
Thanks. Okay.
Sorry if I lose focus here for a little bit. I'm watching videos of coconut crabs in Australia.
Coconut crabs in
Oh
Australia.
yeah, they're giant, massive things. They look
I'm
delicious.
I'm also losing it because I'm playing Fallout.
I want to go eat some coconut crabs right now. Sounds delicious.
I want to eat crabs now.
Great, Sokka. Now, me and you have just made people hungry in this room.
You got Tommy.
Beg your pardon?
Bring
Success
something.
is infuriating.
Sokka.
Bring something now. Bring a
God
perhaps.
damn it, Sokka, you do everything.
Let's get one of them good old perhapses going.
Yeah, let's get St. Tommy
I got-
evangelizing.
I got a hard question. It's a tough one. It'll send your blood pressure up a couple of points.
I'm on the edge of my seat. What is it?
Okay. Is circle jerking an abomination to God?
Define circle jerking, because I've heard several different forms of it. I've heard of the sexual term, then I've heard of the part where you just run into a circle, jerk your arms in a circle, and then you just make sure you don't knock someone's face off whenever you're doing all that at the metalcore concert.
Ah, yes,
I
my
think
fa-
it's the former. I'm pretty sure.
Every
is
time,
also-
every time I hear that, I always think of like a roll, like people jerking each other off.
All right, well, what do you mean, Tommy?
I think of a bunch of people that believe the same in the same room.
Hold on. What do you mean, Tommy?
Like a celebration of capability amongst the young. Yeah. There's an alternative definition of circle jerking. Still a little vague. Not quite pinning it down. Is it that popular dance in the '80s? Who knows? But let's go ahead and not get any more articulate than that. No mutual touching. None of that. Just dancing a little bit, celebrating.
I don't think there's
Dude,
anything.
it's jerking people off. That's what
I don't think there's anything wrong with circle jerking in and of itself.
So there you go. Put the gene.
Everybody channel the Holy Spirit You know, all believers have the teacher. The teacher is the Holy Spirit is our teacher. Can anybody give this one a shot and give their discernment? It's tough one now. It's controversial. You know, it's scary.
Well, I don't. Well, I think once again, I'm still confused on the question, so I'm just going to answer both of the definitions as quick as possible. If it's the one involving the mosh pit dance thing that was done, yes, I think that's okay. I know I did at several Christian events that I went to, and somebody actually got knocked in the stomach because of it. And then circle jerk, as for the sexual practice, no, I'm not sure about that. I mean, I don't think the Lord's going to look around about it like that, and it's probably going to make your relationship even more awkward if you're going to spend time in a room with a bunch of your buddies and just, doing the wank-a-wank.
Right. When we was boys, we acted like boys. But now
So I can give a religious reason why it's bad, and I can give the secular reason why it's bad. I don't know when I look at my buddy Phil and see, hey dude, I'm touching it.
We got motherfucking cobalt. Whatever you say.
Yeah, in a metaphorical sense, the term is used to refer to self-congratulatory behavior or discussion amongst a group of people, usually in reference to a boring or time-wasting meeting or other events. So that could also include Google Hangouts as an example. So there you go.
So who's Cobalt?
Is it Cobalt Axiom or just Cobalt?
Cobalt.
Cobalt bullets.
Oh, okay.
Is that a reference to blue balls?
Yes, it is.
Hey, I recognize that voice.
I know that voice. What's
Who
up,
is it?
Dragnot?
You do you?
I don't really know that voice.
Dragnot.
Who?
No, that's not Drake. That's Tommy Hall.
I'm sorry. Who?
Saka.
I was going with Dragnot also. Tommy Hall. What's up, Tommy Hall?
I assure you I'm not Tommy Hall.
Yeah, that voice is not Tommy Hall.
No, it's Dragnot.
It's Tommy Hall putting on a funny voice.
Yep.
Alright, so is this guy just a Cobalt original, or is this guy someone else using a different account?
I don't know. I think he's fine.
Okay.
I think he's a troll.
Alright, well, Cobalt, what is your question? Are you just trolling?
I don't know, guys. I don't think he's a troll.
Dragnot's a very smart guy. Listen.
I just wandered into a conversation with a bunch of men talking about wanking each other. I should be asking you some questions, gentlemen.
Wait, what kind of questions are you going to ask us about the circle jerking, or?
Yeah, that was brought up by St. Tommy. That's it. I'm a Christian apologist, and if you're an atheist, grab your big, large stick of poking at Christians and go ahead and jab at me.
Well, mate, I'm not sure if I want to actually focus you anything here. Just you see my avatar here. You see that? I need this after listening to you all just now.
You sound like Greg.
So does the furniture. What they call it? Gizmopper.
It's my sock.
Welcome, Dragnot.
Hello.
Sock?
Yeah, I have to have a sock. Everybody has a sock.
I have a sock account.
Yeah, dude, your voice it had too much bass, man. I could freaking tell.
Yeah, I wasn't really trying.
Your sock, Saka.
I mean, it's cool. Like friggin', Alex does it. I friggin' did at one point to fucking troll that crazy Australian dude back when he was on here. The story about the two wolves. Yeah, we all did that shit.
I have a question for Rev. If that's
What up?
okay, Christian.
What up?
Go ahead.
Same question I asked Christian Anarchist earlier. Can you be wrong about your belief?
There we go.
Well, I mean, I had a personal experience with the Most High God, so nobody can tell me it was a lie, Saka. They can't. So.
No.
No, not in my mind. No.
Okay.
Well, not so much a lie as a mistake. You know. Because lie assumes that that someone told you that your experience was bullshit.
like, yeah, I think what he's trying to say here is like, lie is, it's not true, but you're gonna go and say it is the mistake. And so yeah, I think the question is that should have been rephrased is, could it be a mistake? Do you believe it's possible that you could have made a mistake or something like that?
Well, with what happened to me, okay, what I experienced in my testimony is more real than me being here with you guys right here in this chat room that we're talking back and forth. So, if I were to deny Jesus Christ, I would be denying the fact that I am in this room right now with you, talking with you. I mean, that's how much this was beyond real to me. Okay, I mean, it's a type of situation where you have some force, I won't even call it God, telling you that your mother is going to have a certain demise unless you are aware of what's going to happen beforehand and you know what's going on here and you get her to the hospital. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. This is something that goes beyond our logic here, guys. I hope you understand that, and that's cool. If you don't, it's all good. I see people's hearts, and I know when they're real, and they're seeking truth, and that's cool. But anti-theists, it's kind of like, okay, do you know for a fact, 100% there is no God? Well, you can make arguments, but do you know for sure? You know what I mean? I encourage people to keep an open heart and open mind, and yeah.
Well, it's kind of one of those
yeah, that would be a point of contention here. There, I mean, I would. I'm just gonna say this real quick. I agree with almost everything what you said except that one snippet in which you said that it goes beyond our understanding. I mean, if you allude to some spiritual experience, I mean, sure. I mean, that's fine. I mean, that's personal by definition. But it's not impossible for a person to pick at the brain and stuff like that and figure out.
For situations like this,
that's my point.
But situations like this, I try to tread very carefully, especially when I'm speaking to atheists who've been respectful to me and respectful to everyone else. I try not to be as dismissive as many other people, because you can't qualify statements of personal experience enough for someone else to ever understand how it is. I can describe something to you and how I felt and what I went through, but no one will ever truly get it. And I understand that.
Right.
And so, I can't disqualify that at all. I can give you, my perspective of what stuff that I've been through that can relate to that, and also qualify that experience with things that happen to me that have a tremendous effect on me, cause a great deal of bias in myself. I can say that. And so that's what I have to be careful for when I am explaining that to other people. No, you're not Naruto. You stop that sacrilege. But anyway, you get what I'm trying to say with that.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we're going to try to wrap this up and get at least one more question in. So
I got kind of a sort of just a real quick one.
Like goddamn chocolate.
Christian Anarchist, when you see people in chats, you kind of alluded to it a second ago. No, I'm not laughing at you. I just saw St. Tommy's icon do something weird. Do you think that you said make fun of you because of your Christianity? Do you think people go out there and do that? Because when you ask people to do that, I couldn't even bring myself to do that.
Yeah,
that was just a humorous thing I was putting. I wasn't saying that people make fun of them just because they're Christians. I think there's logical reasons why people get made fun of. For example, you don't get made fun at for just being a creationist. You get made fun of if your views are just
crazy.
Yeah,
right.
So if people find them crazy, then they're going to, of course, because even young Earth creationists disagree on certain things. Like, to me, the most rational and reasonable young Earth creationist would be John C. Sanford. He's, to me, even though he says that evolution does harm to science, and not in the sense of, not evolution bad science, like he believes that, it does harm to science because we spend most of our money when it comes into the scientific field doing research involving evolutionary biology and all kind of stuff. But he's at least more sane compared to people like Ken Ham, who say the reason why school shootings happened is because we teach evolution in schools.
Is there a most reasonable flat earther?
Now, I don't study that, so I don't know. I don't study flat
Jeranism.
Jeranism, I'm not sure. He's an atheist and he's a flat earther. I don't know how consistent that is.
We'll have to kick him out.
Well, the fact of the matter is that any of us the fact of the matter is that any of us that believe in God, it probably seems irrational to anybody that is just focusing on science, because we can't point up at the sky and say, okay, there's God on the throne, right? I mean, it's an irrational belief in many ways if you're just coming from a science standpoint. So, yeah, it's. Go ahead.
I've tried to imagine, like, what if a hard fact was just put in my lap, like an alien just landed in my front yard and got off the ship and just walked up to me. I mean, and I would never lose focus of other people not believing my story, and I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't when I shared it with them. And it's like, you understand that it's a personal experience, and
Yep.
but you seem like, well, not you, but it's like, why don't you believe me? Or like, I'm the irrational one for not believing you. I wouldn't think my friends were irrational for not believing my abduction story. So do you think I'm irrational for not believing yours?
No,
Okay.
not at
That's
all,
fair
Sean.
enough. That's fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough.
And so that's all the time.
Hold on, St. Tommy wanted something in. Go ahead.
He wants something. He's holding 3 fingers up. What's up?
Hey, real quick question. It's a tough one, but it's a sincere one.
Let's hope it ain't sexual.
It's not. It's not frightening. It's
Okay.
not. Okay. It is. Let's say God sends somebody and they proclaim the gospel, and I hear it, and by the grace of God, I believe it.
Mm-hmm.
All happy and everything. Everything's great. Go through a war or two, tangle with doubt, and then here I am today. Then tonight, when I go to sleep, I don't believe in Jesus when I'm asleep. I don't believe in anything. Am I still in Christ Jesus?
So
Whether I am
basically, you're worried.
entangled in doubt, double-minded, entangled in doubt, or asleep at the wheel?
Like I'm guessing you're asking from the idea that you're asleep and that you're, in a sense, not, unconscious for the few hours. You're worried if I'm guessing that you're worried that because of this, that you're not conscious and not able to make the decision of keeping faith or not. That you.
Hey.
Hey?
He had to mute himself. You're worried of faith, and like you're not having your conscience. You're worried that you won't be saved because you're not consciously making the decision of having faith in God. Am I correct?
Am I saved by holding the faith this day, or am I saved back then before I went to war when God sent somebody and I heard the gospel and believed it by his grace and got redeemed and filled?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was born again, redeemed, justified, filled, didn't understand it, but it happened, allegedly.
Right.
Am I saved because of what he did on the cross through faith back then, or am I saved now by holding the faith? Am I saving myself by holding the right orthodox faith, which is good to do and all, yeah, of course.
It's the former, Tommy. It's the former.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's a sincere answer, Rev. You reckon? I mean, I'm not doubting your word. Thank you.
Yeah. If you not only have received the Holy Spirit But if you, God also sees your heart. He basically doesn't have to see your actions. Let's say this. Let's say, just for the sake of an argument, God is blind to physical actions, and the only thing he can see is the spiritual and the hearts. He can just see that, and even if you were asleep, can tell if your fruits are good, if you're with the Holy Spirit, and that you honestly believe in him, then yes, you are saved, even if you don't have the consciousness while you're in sleep.
Amen.
Could I be saved in my sleep?
So, like, you're asking for converting to Christianity during your sleep?
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm
If he
sorry
wakes
to.
you up, I guess. If he wakes you up, I guess.
Oh, I'd have to be
Yeah,
woken.
I just sleep, and then I just see Jesus like pushing me, just like, wake up,
Yeah.
wake up.
Hey, little fella, I died for you.
I'll look at him like, holy shit, you are real. I'll just look at him like, holy shit, you are real. Well, I guess I'm a Christian now.
Yeah, like, I think that, well, I don't say you convert during the sleep, because you'd have to wake up to make the decision to if what you saw was actually it's a spiritual message, or B, if you're actually going to convert because of said experience. Like, I don't believe in the forced conversions
Right.
kind of thing.
Oh, Solomon, he got infused with some wisdom, allegedly, during sleep. Seems like I heard. But anyway, that's a side point, a distraction. Excuse me.
Right.
Remember that, anybody? Went to sleep, asked for wisdom, blah, blah, blah.
I didn't. I'm not so sure, but I mean, it says a lot of things. He also said that he commanded like demons from balls and trip and rings, and other hocus pocus.
Lemon, focus, yeah.
I mean, absent of any direct like knowledge about these said things are kind of wasted upon us, aren't they?
Alright, so we're gonna end this right here. We're gonna still have our little after party, of course, just for a off-air thing. But thanks to all the atheists that participated and asked the questions. I hope they get the answers they wanted that satisfied them. If not, well, tough cookies, and they're stale tough cookies.
Great hangout, CA.
Praise God.
You managed to strengthen my atheism. Thanks, man.
Wait, what?
Praise the spaghetti monster.
I said you managed to strengthen my atheism. Thanks, man.
And all
Ramen.
Ramen. Imagine if Aaron Ra wasn't here. Then we'd have a time.
We are a way the cosmos knows itself.
So about those nude photos,